Good afternoon and welcome into the Morning Burrito Podcast. I'm Michael.
I'm Eric.
And we are here with you. It is lunchtime. I hope you're eating a big, ginormous burrito of some sort. Breakfast burritos are good, though.
Yeah, but lunch burritos with a whole lot of salsa and jalapenos be great.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Yeah.
Nobody really wants that.
It's great.
Stuff,
Everybody wants that except you.
No.
True story.
Not everybody.
Perfect.
No, You're wrong.
Nope.
Sorry. Anyway,
public poll might prove you wrong.
Maybe.
Well, I don't need you to prove you're wrong. You are wrong. So
we'll see.
I just proved it. I said it. That's why.
We did have burritos on Monday, though.
We did.
We had our staff meeting at a local establishment and had some breakfast burritos, which was good.
Yep.
And you made fun of me. You actually took me to the establishment because of my pink beard.
I did.
Like,
we had to show you off.
And then I immediately trimmed it after that.
Yeah, well, you still got the pinkage going,
It's
though.
a little pink. So for those of you who don't go to our church, you may be wondering why.
I would just let them think about it.
No.
Just let them think.
No, because...
Just let them go.
No.
It's the month. Just let people think.
Yeah, no. See, here we go again. This is exactly what you did on Sunday. So I made a deal with my students in the student ministry that if they got 25 students to come on a Wednesday night to our normal youth group event, that I would dye my beard pink. And it took 2.5 years, pretty much. And they finally did it this last Wednesday, a week ago. So
good for them.
So I'm a man of my word, and we had a lock-in this last weekend that was our first thing we did was...
Did you know what was coming?
Know what was coming?
That they were going to do that to you?
They were going to get 25?
At the lock-in? No, at the lock-in?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I told them on Wednesday that I would do it at the lock-in first thing.
Okay. I was really hoping it was a surprise.
Yeah, I was the one that went and got the dye.
Okay. Oh, so you even picked the color.
Oh, yeah. I told them it was going to be pink.
Well, yeah, well, it's pretty hot.
Yeah. So if you're not part of our church, you can go to Sunday service and take a look, and you will be able to witness the majesty that is my pink beard.
You tried to shave it off, but it didn't work.
It's pretty close to gone.
Yeah, not really.
It's pretty close.
Not really. You got the skin thing that was dyed too, so
it's not too bad. It's actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So I'm happy about that. I was pretty worried on Sunday.
Your pigment is pink.
Yeah. We're all pink on the inside. All right. So today's topic, we're going to go through. So we've been teasing this for a few weeks now. You are going to be leaving in 4
out of here.
weeks
4 weeks
to go on sabbatical, and you may, if you're not a Christian, you may know of that word because our professors do this from time to time. I don't know what the time frame is for that, but
it's usually a year.
I don't know how often they get it either, but
usually 7.
7 years, just like it. Okay.
Sometimes it's 5.
Okay, so we're going to talk about sabbatical, why pastors, why professors do it, and they get a lot longer than you do, professors do, and we'll talk through why you're doing it and what you're doing, and just give them the lowdown.
Yeah,
and we don't still have some answers yet on what the podcast will look like. It'll still be going. I'll still be doing the shows, but not sure on who's going to be here and whatnot. I may be doing some shows by myself and stuff, but we'll be still pushing through that time. So stick with us and let's talk about sabbatical, I guess. All right, we're back. So, sabbatical.
Bags are packed.
Are they really?
Not really.
I was going to say that. I don't believe that.
But there are some things set out, though, like mosquito nets and that kind of thing.
What do you need mosquito nets for?
Fishing in Alaska.
Oh, yeah, that'd be...
Yeah. I mean, those things will carry you away.
I don't think they're as bad as the rainforest mosquitoes.
Never been there, but they're pretty bad.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Pretty big. But yeah, sabbatical.
That actually surprises
me. It's gonna be a good time. Well, they don't have mosquitoes in the wintertime.
I wouldn't think that they would have mosquitoes at all.
Oh, but
as far north as they are.
I'm
learning something this morning.
They only get
afternoon.
like 2 months that they live, so that when they come out, there's billions of them.
That's disgusting.
It is.
I don't like mosquitoes.
That's why there's a net.
If I had an opportunity to ask God something, I'd ask why mosquitoes.
Follow man, just like cats.
Like honestly, they're the most useless insect ever.
Yep.
I mean, I know they feed birds and things, but there are other insects
Yep.
birds could feed on. They don't need mosquitoes. They're useless.
Crazy.
Just like an appendix, completely useless.
Yeah,
to the
I mean,
human being.
Yeah, live without it.
All it does is get sick. It gets infections. That's what it does.
And today you probably watch this going like, okay, sabbatical. What's this got to do with me? Well, there's a role for everybody in a sabbatical.
Sure.
Whether and it's more than just walking away having the desires like, well, man, and I should say a whining desire, because we hear this whining thing a lot. It's like, well, why don't I get a sabbatical for my job? Well, I don't know. That's just your career, I guess. But
So-
there is a role for everybody in the church, out of the church, even secular with your professors and teachers and educators, and even medical people. They get their sabbaticals, and you got a role to play in that.
So let's get down to the basics. What is a sabbatical? What's it for? What's its purpose? Just as a general
Okay,
matter.
so first of all, it's not a vacation. Sabbatical is very intentional. Vacations are never intentional.
Rarely are they intentional.
You might be intentional on vacation on setting time aside to get away, but a sabbatical should be intentional. It's intentional time, and it's to there's different sabbaticals. I mean, some people will use a sabbatical for writing and study. Some will go abroad and live. Some are more of a R&R kind of thing. So.
I know a lot of professors will use it for researching things.
Yep.
Writing is obviously a main thing that both pastors, professors, and medical professionals will write during their sabbaticals if they're trying to write a book or something like that.
Yeah. So basically, a sabbatical is intentional time to disconnect and engage in a different way. Most of the time, it's to come back renewed and refreshed. But a lot of times, you come back from sabbatical because you have not taking the rest, which is secular or in the Christian world, that is a huge part of sabbatical. That's the reason for sabbatical, is a rest. But a lot of people don't do that, so they come back and they're more exhausted. Then they need their vacation to recover from sabbatical. So that's not my intent. But
So would you say that sabbaticals should be, if I'm hearing what you're saying, sabbaticals should be part rest and relaxation, so vacation-esque, while at the same time being very intentional in study or focus or something that you're doing to, in your case, get closer to God, get closer to your family. Is that a fair way to describe it?
Yeah, I mean, yes, it is. I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay. So, as we said, this is not just a pastoral thing, although that's probably the most common place you'll hear it is with professors or with pastors. What are you, just give us the 38,000 foot view. What does your sabbatical look like over the 10, 11 weeks that you're going to be on your sabbatical?
So it's really broken down to three things. It's pausing life, pausing for my family, pausing for my career, pausing my heart. So I've actually named it. I put a name to it, and it's coffee break. So if you know me, you know that coffee is huge for me. And
yeah, I'm surprised you don't have a coffee cup right now.
I've already had 2 pots. So
two
today,
pots,
literally. I mean, this morning was
a lot of coffee, dude.
Was like, wow. I mean, you had a night, I had a night, and it's just crazy. But so it's a time for me to pause and to just kind of just stop the normal life, the normalcy of life. Is normalcy a word?
Normalcy.
Normalcy? So I just made that up.
Not normalcy.
See, I need to get away. So I knew when I said it, I was like, that doesn't sound like a real word.
You made up a word last week, too.
Yeah, befoofled. That is a word.
It is not.
Befoofled is a word.
It is not.
That, and then so then the second part of my coffee break is going to be restoring. Part of sabbatical in Scripture, it's about restoring and restoring myself mentally, myself, emotionally, myself with the Lord, restoring myself with my family. Because in our jobs, we work a lot of nights, always on call, especially just coming through, a couple of years of our own pandemic and craziness in church world. So restoring, so that's part of it, and then engaging. And when I say engage, people are like, "Oh yeah, come back and be really engaged." It's like, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not coming back that way. I'm going to go engaging in my spiritual journey, engaging at a different spiritual level and depth than where I am now, engaging with my family in ways that I haven't been able to engage with my family. Sorry, church, it really has nothing to do with engaging the church. It's all engaging with me and the Lord and the family. So that those are the three main things out of my sabbatical. There's lots of things that we're going to do to accomplish some things. Maybe we'll talk about that today a little bit. But.
Yeah. So why is a sabbatical necessary? Let's be very specific to your. I mean, you're not a professor. You're not a medical professional. So why is it so important for a pastor, as you said, every 7 years to do a sabbatical? What's the value in it?
So much value in it. I've had a few sabbaticals, and the first one I didn't understand. The first one, it really was vacation mode. I had like no idea. It's like it was on the calendar. We went and we did it, and it was like I came back exhausted, and I didn't put anything intentional into it. I mean, nobody told me what to do. It was kind of like you go just here's some weeks off, go do it, and then we did that. But when you look at Scripture, in Scripture, it talks about the seventh year, talking about the challenge of work hard for 6 years, and in the sixth year, you're saving up. You're working, you're saving your crops, you're saving your cash, you're putting things aside. So then during the seventh year, you don't have to work. The fields, Scripture says, the fields would take a break, and they would be replenished. The soil would be replenished. It would be, turned over. It would be relaxed. There's no crop that's growing. The nutrients are coming, back to being, revitalized. So in Scripture, it's talking about our hearts that way. It's talking about our lives that way. You give, and you can rotate crops. Scripture says you rotate the crop. Even our farmers today rotate the crops. We rotate people as church. We rotate ministries. We rotate our calendars. We rotate moment by moment a lot of times, mm-hmm. right? So work hard and then just relax. But relaxing, there's a cost with relaxing, and it's faith. Because in Scripture, when it talks about taking that seventh year, it wasn't just a, hey, we don't have to farm this year. It was like, we have to have faith in the Lord that He's going to provide. He's going to replenish. He's going to, renourish. He's going to, fertilize. He's going to make sure there's a crop, that comes after our seventh year, that 1 year of rest. So it is walking in faith going, okay, Lord, I'm doing what you've commanded. I've taken the seventh year off. I don't know what it looks like. So now I'm not taking a year, right? I'm taking 10 weeks, but even in 10 weeks off, there's this idea that floats in Sharon's head and my head, probably more in her head than mine, because I'm ready to go. That's a long time to be gone. That really is a long time to be gone from our people, our calendars. It's a long time for us to kind of let the church be the church. But at the same time, got to have faith going like, okay, we've been very intentional in this. We're following Scripture in this. And, we are blessed to serve in a denomination that actually lets pastors do this.
Encourages it, actually.
Encourages it. So following the scriptural model of taking the seventh year. So in our church, they give pastors their sabbatical during their seventh year. And it's up to, the church board and the pastor to figure out, with the district superintendent's help, figure out, okay, how long is sabbatical and what is the focus and goal of the sabbatical? What do you need? So I laid out the plan and came up with 10 weeks, and here I am.
Yeah, and you were supposed to take this sabbatical last year.
Yeah, but, things were shut down and couldn't really go anywhere.
It was
and
hard to travel or any of that kind of stuff that you wanted to be able to accomplish.
Yeah, and a lot of people say, why don't you just take the time off? Well, because it's not just taking time off.
Right.
I have objectives, and I could not meet most of those, so we waited a year.
Yeah, and we'll talk through in just a little bit. We'll talk through those different objectives and those things that you're going to be doing. We've been laying this out piece by piece for our church family here locally. But you brought something up, and I'd be interested to hear, as somebody who I've been in ministry 12, 13 years now as a pastor. And so, going on my 15th year, never been able to take a sabbatical because I've never been anywhere long enough to take a sabbatical. But tell me about that story, your first sabbatical. What got you to take that step? Because you were obviously in a pastoral staff ministry position, not a lead pastor at that time. So how did that work, and what were some of the pitfalls and the possibilities you had with that first sabbatical you took?
Well, so like my lead pastor, he took his sabbatical, and that got he and I talking about, and the rest of the staff talking about, okay, when's our sabbatical? And we're not set up as a denomination for the staff to have sabbatical. That's between the church pastor and the staff. So we got talking, and he went to the board, and he said, "Hey, it in the manual it says pastors. It does say lead pastors, or it did. I don't know if it still does. I think they might have taken that out. But so we got talking, and I watched him take his sabbatical. He was getting his doctorate. He went away and he worked on his doctorate for like 4 months, and okay, well, I wasn't doing that, so he just take it off and just go. So that's what we did.
So he was working on his dissertation or whatever.
Yeah. So I just took it off and went, and I mean, it was
extended vacation.
Extended vacation. And some of the pitfalls were, I think, one pitfall was because there's nothing really intentional except for planning this vacation. Just week after week after week after week to be gone. My staff, my youth staff, were directionless because it was. Like I helped them, I planned for them, but I did not put the vision of sabbatical in their hearts. So all they really felt was they're just filling in, doing a lot of busy work that I usually get paid for, and I'm not doing. So I came back, and some of them were burned out. Mm-hmm. So I needed to do a better job on that. And I think you kind of see kind of how I'm doing this with you even. You're kind of like the grand poobah, right? But you're not really picking up, the preaching and the teaching for the church because you already have two jobs. You're already doing worship and you're doing youth. And so one thing that I learned in the pitfall is I need to really be intentional, even with you, on not burning you out. Because when I come back, I kind of like you. So I kind of like you to be around and stick around. So
you don't want to have that. You come back, hey, I'm leaving. See ya.
Yeah, because a lot of pastors do. They're like, okay, we're out of here, But then I think the other thing is our church just bought into it, and then it just became an accepted thing that, well, hey, our staff gets sabbaticals, and the church had no intentional drive in it. Mm-hmm. And I think we work hard. We're committed to our church. Our church pays us; they pay us well, and when they pay us, like even we go to a convention or a retreat like we just went on, they're putting forth dollars in our lives to go to those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. So our hind ends better be in the seat and, doing our best to listen and be part of that. And so that's like, I didn't always do that. You go away and you kind of brush the church off and just like any other employee would do to their business, right? You don't go to work when you're not working. That's not the correct way to handle that. So those was probably two of the main pitfalls: is not being intentional and having burnout on staff because they didn't catch the vision. So
sure. And so this is, correct me if I'm wrong, this is when you were in Newport. You were in Newport for 14 years. Did you get 2 sabbaticals in Newport?
So I only got one, and I worked right up until like 6 months before I was eligible for my second, and then we moved.
And so you kind of took a sabbatical, mini sabbatical in between the two.
We did.
Positions.
We took a long sabbatical in between the two, that's where I learned that the church that we were going to, they wanted us, like we quit here. They want us to start, the next week, and I was like, no, that's not happening. For my own self, my own heart, I need this. So we did. We took the Lord, blessed us, with the finances to do that. We took it extended.
And then you took some time in between going from there to here. Wasn't really a sabbatical, but you took some time to break. So this is, would you say this is a natural pattern or rhythm now for your family?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, the last time that we took off, we made it a sabbatical because I was doing a career change. I was going from student ministry from your chaotic world into lead pastor chaotic world, and so I needed that. I needed to transition my heart from the wild and crazy to a different wild and crazy, and realize that I probably don't really know how to do that. So we did. We took that. We did not have the money to do that. We were in debt. We had major debt. It's like we took the Dave Ramsey class years and years ago when we weren't in debt, and then we went in debt, and then we were in the process of following through on some of that stuff that we learned from him, and it took us quite a few years. Well, not quite a few. It took us a few years to get out back on the the black side of
their finances.
But, yeah.
So you started sabbatical not at the beginning of your ministry, so it wasn't in the first 7 years of your ministry. Right. But you took a sabbatical, and then you took a kind of full-length sabbatical that was after 7 years, but during a transition point. Mm-hmm. And then you took another sabbatical essentially to prepare yourself for the position you're in today.
Right.
So now this is your first sabbatical with Hermnaz, with our local church here. You said you have your three main goals or things you're trying to accomplish. Flesh it out for us. What does this look like over but over those 10 weeks?
Sure.
Where are you going? What are you doing? How are you accomplishing those goals?
So I'm trying to spend quality time with my family members in different ways, in ways that we typically we don't do because we don't have time, or financially because we can't afford it, or we choose not to afford it. All right. So the first week, my one son, he's going to Honduras because one thing of our sabbatical is we want to be mission minded. So we couldn't afford all of us to be part of Honduras or part of a trip like that. So when this came up, it was with some very generous people helping him be able to go. But we're trying to make the time, cut out for him to do that. So he's doing that. He's doing that all by himself. And as a family, we're on the prayer end of it and trying to do that for him. And then I'll be spending time with two of my kids. We're flying back to the Midwest. I'm going to spend some time in Branson, Missouri, and then go see my dad in Michigan and be able to fish Lake Michigan for some salmon. It'll be our first fishing adventure of the sabbatical. But that'll be quality time for me to pause and restore and engage with two of my kids, just us two or us three together for a week and a half or so, and then come back. All of our kids go to camp, and then my wife and we're going to do something that we have never done, never even entertained the idea. But we're going to go live with a bunch of nuns at a monastery in Idaho. And I have no idea what to expect. So we're using that time to quiet our own hearts and our own lives in all those ways, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and let the Lord heal. Let the Lord bring, some real encouragement that honestly we just feel drained from. So I don't know. I have no idea what it's going to be like to eat spaghetti with nuns, or if they even eat spaghetti. I don't know, but
you might be eating crickets or something.
Might be
you don't
eating
know.
Crickets. I have no idea. But you spend some time in silent. They sing the Psalms like twice a day, and they have like all 150 Psalms memorized. And but they said they would be nice. They would give us the words. I was like, that's good, thanks. So we're doing that. So Sharon and I are doing that while the kids are gone. Come back. We got some time on the lakes and the rivers here to do some fishing and kayaking and boating, and then Gideon and we're off to a bucket list trip to actually fish Alaska for about 9 days. So we're getting right in the heat of salmon season and halibut, and then we're taking a float plane and flying somewhere in some mountaintop somewhere, lake, and I have no idea what we're going to fish or whatever we're going to do. But So we're doing that. That'll be a bucket list trip.
Lots of pictures, I hope.
Lots of pictures. And then come back. I'm back at the coast. It's tuna season. Be doing some fishing there. If the tuna come in, if not, we'll just be playing and fishing whenever we can up and down the coast. And then I know I'm going to forget something here. But then
High Lakes.
The High Lakes is how we're going to end. We're going to spend time before the High Lakes and go to South Dakota.
Oh, that's right.
To see our kids. And then
The oldest boy.
the oldest boy and his new bride. Today's their 6 month, or yesterday was their 6 month anniversary. So, so I guess that's a good thing they celebrate that. I forget. I don't even know if Sharon and I celebrated that. Did you guys?
No.
Yeah, I don't know. 6 months is a big deal. So, I'm not sure why it's a big deal because you're in it for life. But,
Millennials.
yeah, and so we're gonna do that. We'll drive through Yellowstone. We're gonna hit the hot springs, Grand Teton, area, and all of that.
It's a good thing you're not going through there right now because all the roads in Yellowstone are messed up from flooding.
Oh, I know.
Bad.
Sorry,
that's
total
just
rain.
a total derail, but
It's okay. And then we're going to end sabbatical with just Sharon and I. We're going over to Sisters, Oregon, and I found a lodge that is it's a log cabin lodge on like 50 acres of land. It's got a little pond there with a canoe that you can take, but it's right in the heart of Playland. It's right in the heart of the High Cascade Lakes, which I love. We love to hike those. We love to kayak those. So we're going to go stay at this lodge. It's a pastor respite, so it costs us nothing to do that except coffee every day at our favorite coffee house in the world, Sisters Coffee Company. There, I threw it out there, so I'll be there every day. So if those of you live in Sisters or know people, you can come and we'll drink coffee together. So we have Newport people that live there, so maybe we can re-engage and connect. But and then I come back to September 25th, and we got a great speaker that morning. It's you, and I'll be able to come back, and we're going to have communion together. We're going to have a great time together, and I get to sit back and just kind of enjoy being back with my church family, and then try to re-engage in life after that. So.
well, we have a little bit of time left, and your sabbatical not only sounds like a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of fun things that are happening, but you're also spending some time reading a book and focusing your attention on the Lord. So, tell us about the book you're reading.
Yeah, one of our students a couple of weeks ago asked me what I'm going to read, or how do you ask me? He asked me, how many books are you going to read on sabbatical? I said one. He looked at me. It is like, oh, just one. It's like, yeah, just one.
Because he reads
all
like
I want. He
three
reads,
a day,
yeah,
or whatever.
like 3 dictionaries a day, kind of deal. The kid's a brain, smarty pants. But yeah, this book it's asking, it's answering the 3 questions that Jesus actually asked. And he asked a lot of questions, but he only answers like 3. And so I really want to focus on that. It's not a theological thing. This is not a theological sabbatical for me. I'm not going to go write, a book. I'm not going to interview at churches. I'm not going to, start a new educational program. I'm not doing that. But I am wanting to focus at a different level of discipleship. And I think this book is enough to challenge that and really because I love the stories of Jesus. I love the words of Jesus, and sometimes we get those really wrong. And I really am excited about this book because I haven't cheated. I haven't started yet. I have fingered through. I've done that. But I've held back to wait for sabbatical.
You got to know if it's worth reading.
Yeah, and I just am excited for it because I've already learned a couple things in my preview that I'm thinking, no, Jesus did say, and it's like, no, Jesus didn't say, and it's like, huh. Anyway, so yeah,
Good.
so that's where I'm spending that. So between the monastery and the book, and my alone time with my fishing pole, be great.
So we have, I know that there are some pastors who follow us or listen to our podcast, watch our podcast. And, normally this show is really about where faith and culture collide, and this topic is not really where faith and culture necessarily collide, but it is important. It is very important to the both of us. But if a pastor's watching this, let's just assume it's a lead pastor for sake of argument. What are some suggestions you would have, as you kind of alluded to, you've taken some care, and I can say as your staff, you've taken care to help me and our office manager kind of understand, our board as leaders to understand what our roles are in this process. And so can you lay out, just from a leadership perspective, how you have set up the sabbatical for your staff and for our church leadership?
Oh, sure. So
and why it's so important the way you did it.
okay, so for me, I also have a mentor in this. Even though I'm so family oriented in this sabbatical, I do have a mentor, and I'm going to spend some time in July with my mentor back east. And so I just love that man. I love his heart and how he speaks into my life as one of my accountability guys. But in talking with him, this is one of my questions: how can I set it up? And so just through talking and shooting some things off of him and kind of what he thought, I gave him what I wrote up, and he looked at it and goes, "Man, that's genius." I was like, "Well, I wasn't really looking for genius status, but I don't know any pastors that really do the whole lot for their staff. I've never had a senior pastor do any of this for us as a staff." But each of our board members has a job. They've stepped up and they're going to serve our church. They're going to serve our staff. One board member is kind of our member at large. He's going to be doing all the stage work on Sunday mornings, giving updates of sabbatical, as well as our speakers that we're coming in. We got different speakers each week coming in to relieve you from that burden because you're kind of like, you're running the boat, right? You're like, keep the boat going. But so he's doing that. He's kind of the go-to for the staff and the church. We have one of our board members going to attend staff meeting each week with you guys. That's not a babysitting role. It's just accountability. Just so our church knows and publicly anymore. I mean, who would want to work without a leader in today's culture? So he's part of it. You guys love him, and he's going to do great. There's board members that are helping with our finances, overseeing those. Board members helping my wife and family when I'm gone.
Your house,
whatever that looks like. They're helping at the house. I mean, they're not really doing anything at the house, but if something breaks, they're like checking with my wife and helping that way. With our office manager, one of the board members is stepping in to, periodically check in with her to see, hey, what do you need? How can we pray for you? So that's happening. Our senior adults, one of our board members, or a couple of our board members actually, are helping our senior adult team, checking in periodically with them each week to say, hey, what's going on? One's taking care of the needs, and the other one is actually taking care of the physical work if somebody's water tank breaks, or whatever. So, and then for you as a staff, I mean, for you being the that grand poobah seat, right? I should get you a hat and everything for that.
Just talk to Susan; she'll get.
I should. Oh yes, you will do this for me. But to have the board in place so you're not the one that's in the hot seat of making decisions. You're going to the board going like, hey, this is something that I'm dealing with, something that's come up. What do you guys think? And let the board be the leadership. That's what they are there for. So I've chosen to use the board during this sabbatical and give them the responsibilities of the church to come alongside you and help you keep the ship going. So did I get that okay?
Yeah. So, I mean, from my perspective, as somebody who's on staff with you, I have really appreciated that not only do we have information on what you're doing, where you're going to be, and all of those things, because, I mean, that stuff's important to an extent. But I think what has been really awesome to watch is that while I feel, and I've mentioned this to you multiple times, I feel very unsure about myself. I just, this is who I am, and I wear that on my sleeve, I guess. But you have been reassuring and helping me to know how I can keep our ships going in the right direction while you're gone. And so putting the team around me and our office manager particularly has been very helpful to help us be ready for sabbatical, because it is a long time for the leader to not be there physically with us. And so so I'm excited about it. I think it's a great thing for you. It's a great thing for your family. For two of your kids are leaders in my student ministry, and one of your kids is in my student ministry. So this is a sabbatical for you, but it's also a sabbatical for your family, and it's an opportunity to disconnect to at least some extent for each of your kids and your wife from the church for a while.
Yeah, which is funny because I've asked, we've entered the conversation as a family now in the last probably, 2 or 3 weeks. It's like, hey, so are you guys going to Herm Naz? Like July through September, or what are you guys doing? I mean, because they're not going I mean, we're all never going to be gone together at one point. So it's like, what are you guys going to do? And they're like, what are you talking about, Dad? It's like, of course we're going to go to church. Like, it's sabbatical. So that's entered that conversation for us. And it's been really cool as a parent to sit back and watch our kids wrestle with that because they love our church. They love our people. They really don't want to go anywhere else. And I mean, so, and I'm saying, you guys go where you want to go to worship. But it's okay if you want to take some time and, like, be involved in a different ministry and let them speak to you. Because my family does give. They're at a different age. They're not in a glass house like a lot of pastors. Like when their kids growing up, you got the glass house syndrome. We're kind of past that stage, but they need to have somebody speak into their life differently. So that's been a good conversation. The other one has been the speakers that are coming in, being very intentional on bringing quality people in to bring Jesus, to bring a Jesus challenge, to bring a word and a message that can follow as you lead the church into worship each week to the feet of Jesus. They can pick up that ball and carry it into the end zone, and to be able to just do that. And so I've worked hard this year at trying to make a top 10 list, right, of quality speakers. So
well, and it's an expense, right?
It is.
This is not something that comes cheap to bring in speakers. And I mean, you and I both know pastors who have taken sabbatical, lead pastors who have essentially just pawned it off on their staff person, and in some cases that's fine. I mean, it works good. I mean, if the staff person's only doing one other role, having them take on preaching, not really all that big of a deal, I think, in a lot of cases. But I have appreciated that you didn't pawn it off on me to preach every single week, while also taking your place as the visitation and call pastor. Funerals, weddings, all that stuff's on me while you're gone. So I really appreciated that, not to mention my daily, weekly role of being a youth pastor and being a worship pastor. I mean, it's a lot. So
and a husband
and a dad. Yeah. And so pastors, if you are watching this, think about that before you just give that role to your pastor, because your staff may be willing to do it. I'm sure I would have been willing to do it, and I would have been happy to do it. But you were thinking about my family and my other roles so that nothing got missed while you're gone, and I appreciate that. And we do honestly have a great list of people coming, from evangelists to a guy who leads and is the founder of Men in the Arena. If you don't know, guys who are listening, that's a great podcast to go and listen. I'm hoping maybe while he's here, I can get at least some conversation with him. I mean, that would be great. But we have a couple chaplains who are going to be here throughout the time you're gone. Northwest Nazarene is bringing a group that's going to speak and lead worship to kind of give me a break. We have your former protege, youth pastor, who is our district leader for student ministry here.
Yeah, he served as one of my key student leaders in my youth ministry at one point.
Yeah, so Billy's going to be here. It's going to be great. And then, of course, we have Rob, who's coming from one of our cluster churches here close by in Grandview, and he's going to come and speak for a couple weeks. And then I get to the pleasure and the honor to bookend the sabbatical. So your first week gone, I'm the one on the pulpit, and then the week you come back, I'll be on the pulpit. So I'm really excited about that. It's going to be a great time, and yeah, I think our church is going to be blessed for it. So
yeah, so I've been really excited for that, because I just think sabbatical is a time for the church to be refreshed as well. And I mean, you guys know this, but I was a staff guy for most of my career, and being through several pastor sabbaticals from lead guys, and knowing the dumping that you just described. I mean, it's a ton of work and very little thank you afterwards. I mean, seriously, they just handed me my tail feathers for 10 weeks, and the big guy comes back and doesn't even say thanks, really. I was like, yeah, okay. So Sharon and I, we've had this list. If we were ever going to be a lead pastor, here's some things physically written down that I do not want to do. I do not want to do. I do not want to do. And this is sabbatical is one. I do not want to do sabbatical the way every senior pastor ever has done sabbatical for me. So
Yeah, and that's not to denigrate them. It's just I think
yeah, it
it's
is.
something.
No, it's not. It's
No,
not.
I think sometimes we just forget some of those things. We don't think about that because number one, you're excited about taking sabbatical. It's an important piece of a pastor's journey through ministry. And so so what we can ask of you as we are only 3 shows away before you're gone, or 2 shows, can't remember, 2 or 3,
Something like that.
be praying for his family. Be praying. The economy is not getting any better, it doesn't seem, and so that can potentially have an effect on sabbatical stuff. So keep praying that nothing interferes with what God is going to be doing on your family's sabbatical, and also just pray for our church locally here, whether you're part of our church family or not. We would appreciate that. I would appreciate that. Because it is something that is a little jarring. A couple weeks in, it's going to start to feel. They're going to start to feel it and feel that you're gone, and so there will be some adjustment there for a few weeks, I think. But I'm really excited for the reports back when you get back to the podcast. We probably have to do another a follow-up episode to this one that's specifically about, did you accomplish all the things that you had set out to do? Mm-hmm. How fun was it? What was fishing in Alaska like? Getting one of them big old king salmons. Can't wait. Or big halibut. And we may have to even work in a way that we can get some pictures and stuff up on the on the podcast. So
I think where I want to end this is even for a church pastor sabbatical, or if it's a professor sabbatical, I started by saying in the show, like, you've got a role, to do. You've got something to do, and you just touched on it, prayer. Prayer is huge, but just the overall support, and it is hard sometimes for people who don't get sabbatical, who don't get that pleasure in their career. It's hard for them to really be supportive of people who do get a sabbatical. I understand that. But if I can just say that your role is so important, whether it's a professor, it's a doctor, an educator, a pastor, your role is so important to support, because as that person gets away, they need to have the assurance that when they come back, they're coming back with most of the time, I think people come back with a drive of health, and their to-do list. When I take a week off and I come back, I've got like 133 emails, right, to respond to. Can you imagine 3 months, what that's going to be? I'm just saying, it's not. I'm just going to zero them all out. You can email me again when I get back, kind of thing. I won't do that. Well, maybe, I don't know. That was a really good idea I just had, But your role is to encourage, send encouraging notes, and maybe that's a stretching thing for you. Maybe it's a pride issue with you, or maybe it would be something that would be humbling in your own heart and spirit to recognize that there's a leader that is looking for intentional reprieve, intentional rest, intentional vision to hit his or her life. Be that person that supports, whatever that looks like. If it's financially, if it's prayer, if it's sending note cards, if it's, just, hey, how can I help you or your family while you're gone? That is scriptural. That's so secular or not. That's sabbatical, because even in the 6th year, families worked together to prepare somebody to go and take a year off. They would work at that with saving of the foods and the crops and the families, and just the whole thing. Childcare, especially in those days, when it's talking sabbatical, when a mama has a new little one and it was coming during the 7th year, mama didn't really take care of the child. It was the neighbor, it was the other family members that stepped in because mama needed to rest, right? So I just can't say enough that your role and how you handle the support factor of somebody having a sabbatical is tremendous. And I guess as one that's taken sabbaticals, I've come to appreciate every little bit of encouragement that somebody gives and not take it for granted. I think that we become ultra sensitive to somebody who says, "Man, Pastor, I'm praying for you," or they hand make a card, right? Or they just scribble something on a napkin and slip it to you on a Sunday morning. Those are precious moments that just speak, and honestly, it allows God to speak to us, and in ways that maybe we don't, because it softens our heart, it softens our mind, and you and I, we talked about off ramps and on ramps. There's a process to sabbatical of preparing, getting ready to not just shut the button off and close the computer lid on the morning that you leave, but it's also not picking up the computer as you pull back into town. I mean, there's a process of letting go and a process of picking up, and you can help with all of that. So I can't say enough about support. So
yeah, it's really important. So again, pray. I would cover your prayers as well. Just my own inadequate view of myself sometimes. So I mean, any encouragement would be helpful. But
you're gonna do great.
But church, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be fun, and I am really excited to see what God does not only in your family and in your heart, but what he does for the church during that time. Because again, we can be a part of it. We will be a part of it, and we can grow in the midst with the great speakers that we're going to have, and they're going to be speaking into our lives in a way that you and I really can't, because we're the every time pastors, preachers. Right. So to hear somebody else's voice is a good thing, and they're all going to be bringing a different message from a different perspective, and it'll be good for our people. So
yeah, and imagine how you're going to grow during this time. The things you're going to learn in ministry that you think you know right now, you're going to see in a different light, bro, and you're going to be going like,
maybe things I don't want to
learn. Because this is a growth moment for you, and I'm excited for that, and that's another reason why we didn't dump everything on you, because I want you to enjoy it, and I want you to grow, and it's going to be exciting to sit back and go get that breakfast burrito and get caught up and go, yeah, what'd you learn from that? And you're like, man, I did not even see that coming. So those are the moments I'm looking at for you. I was like, I want to hear that I didn't see that coming moment.
Yep. Well, hey, we will see you next week on the Morning Burrito Podcast. Have a great week.